So I'm here with Josh, who did a 2 week training of mine, the 2 week course, and who got in touch with me recently because he has had some amazing success as a result. So hi Josh, thanks for doing this.
How's it going, brother? Good to see you. Thank you.
I need to especially thank Josh because I was recently moving house. This is the third time I've arranged this meeting, so I'm finally here. So thank you so much for doing that.
That's why I put the header. Third time's a charm.
Yeah, exactly. Anyway, everything works now. So why don't you first of all let everybody know where you were at before you did this 2 week training.
You know, when I first saw, I think it was from a link on Facebook or something, I saw you talking about it, and I went to one of your videos, and I said, let's see what this one's about this week. And what you were describing was the same thing that I was going through as a solo artist. Now, in groups, I've worked for years, and with a band, for some reason, I could disconnect from the little voice in my head, and I could go, it's not just all on my shoulders. I can do a group. But when it came to my own work, it's never been released. I mean, I've played it out at Burning Man and countless festivals, but I've never been comfortable with letting it go.
Okay.
It's because it wasn't there to what this imaginary, peak that I was supposed to get to. That being said, when I heard you speak, it's hit so close to home. I'm like, I've got to go through this. At least give it a shot.
Yeah.
And I did the first 2 weeks, and then it just led to. I can tell you the aha moment I had, but.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that would be great. I'm sure it'll help a lot of people.
I guess when we got to the point. I wanted to talk about this later, but this is really important. When I got to the point of direct experience, I went and I put it in the bathroom mirror, and I think it was something about do it in the shower. I mean, no offense, but I think about you every day in the shower. And it's not like that at all.
Okay. That's fine. That's absolutely fine. Yeah, the reason I say do it in the shower is just that something most people do every day. So.
Well, it's isolated too, and it makes don't do it in the car. You'll crash.
Exactly. Yeah.
You'll be overpass sandwich. When I did that the first time, I came in, I grabbed my wife, and I was like, that was freaky. I've read books on meditating. I thought I understood meditating, and I just went, holy, Mike just taught me to meditate. Right. I realized what you're doing.
Yeah.
So that direct experience thing still sticks there, and I do that every day. So I don't think about you, but that's.
Yes. But that's the idea, is not actually to think about anything. It's to notice everything that's going on around you and not be thinking
It's almost like a Matrix-esque experience when you really do it and focus, and not just half-heartedly. You battle the first couple of times, you slip out of it, and you're like, oh, that chocolate sundae thing, and it's not about you. You really have to learn to focus, and then when you apply that in the studio, you're like, wow, the track's just done. I'm like, this doesn't feel right. I cheated somehow.
Yes.
The track is supposed to be written 5 days straight, up and down all night, and then you go to a panel, and then we all sit there and we decide what's good about it, and then we go and then we remix it again. No, none of that.
No, just straight in. Well, that's the thing. If you take the direct experience thing and apply it to making music, then it literally is a thing in your brain, a process in your brain. There is a certain part of your brain that turns off and another part of your brain that turns on when you do the direct experience. If you listen to music like that, then you are literally listening to it as a third-person observer. Once you get good at it, and that in itself is like. It's a game changer. If you can get to the point of actually shutting off that thing. But it's a case of it's kind of weird. Some people find it more tricky than others because it's almost like it's not making effort. So if you try and shut down the internal voice, it comes back even stronger. It's the opposite it's the opposite. I was actually writing about this today in my journal, and it was the difference between pushing away and letting go. So it's more like letting go rather than pushing it away. If you know.
Where I'm at today is I just call it writing music on instinct. I'm not. It's not even. It's almost at a subconscious level. It's like I'm a passenger in the vessel rather than two guys deciding whether or not you're going to leave the track or not. I mean, it's been a huge paradigm shift for me. Just when you take direct experience and apply it to. I can't wait to do everything else, but literally. Yeah. It just hasn't stopped. I mean,
well, because you've had such amazing success. So let's just talk. So in terms of actually finishing your music. So in terms of a solo artist, you hadn't finished music for. I mean, how long have you been wanting to kind of release?
I've been an artist for 19 years, and I've never finished a track on my own.
Okay.
I probably have between the 13 hard drives here, I probably have about at least 20 albums worth of stuff. That's I joke about this with my friends. I have 13 albums that are 75% done.
Have you
And I
got?
didn't want
Can you show everyone the hard drives you've got there? So these are your graveyard hard drives.
well, no, graveyard. I still go back to them because there's a sound or something I want. But literally, you can go through these, and they're dated back to 2005. You know,
Wow.
I know there's a couple 90s in here.
Right. Okay.
Some with the old bit. But I mean, literally, it's just these are ones I know that were for actual machines.
Oh wow.
They're all loaded.
Wow. Okay. So you've gone from that, and then so you did this 2 weeks, and then you had that aha moment, the direct experience aha
I didn't
moment.
write any music. I wrote it all down step by step. I followed it diligently, everything. I did the big one for me was the perfect day.
Oh yes.
And then analyzing the problems and finding out what there was, and it was really simple to do that. And once I did that, I'm like, wow, why am I writing music at night all the time? I'm like this night owl, and I'm like, well, that's how I was. I had a previous a relationship where I could only do it at night.
Yeah.
Now I whenever I want. So I'm like, oh, coffee and tea, and I'm like, whoa, boom, the track's done.
Exactly. Okay,
that's all I do.
So you did those small changes that are delivered in that 2 weeks, and so what's happened since? Because it's quite extraordinary what's happened since, isn't it?
Yeah, it really has. I mean, it's just I never thought I'd be in this position to actually finish music. I mean, to do that and then to take the next step and go, well, if I can finish it, why can't I master it? I mean, I've been doing this long enough. I know, and I said, well, I know I don't have the ear. And every time I say that, I go, you do have the ear. Let's try it. And you have a way of comparing it. Mm-hmm. And so I took my little couple pieces of outboard gear, applied it to my 16 chain waves mastering chain that I've been developing. And then what I did is I went back to one of these guys from 2005, and when I had it professionally mastered from one of the guys we used for the major label, I would see what they did and then tried it from my own vantage, and then benchmarked it that way. And I was like, wow, that can't be better. That's not possible.
Right.
Let's try it on my new stuff. And it was just like,
right there.
My benchmark is the car stock system. If it sounds good on there, sounds good on anything, and lo and behold, so we're off to the tracks.
Excellent. So how much music did you finish in what amount of time?
So I finished probably about 5 tracks the first, I'd say 2 weeks. Okay. Easy. That's finished, mastered, ready to go, and uploaded in the queue for distribution. Okay. And now the same thing's happening again. We have about another 10 ready to go. Okay. It's just a matter of I'm slowing it down a little bit because I was putting too many out and it was too crazy. I got a chart. I have to make a chart for Beatport Track Source, and all at the same time I'm like, let's just push them out and promote them a little harder so they have time to breathe. Yeah. Right. So the last track I wrote was called "Let It Breathe," and that was kind of what that was about. Was slowing down. Let's look at it a little. Make music fast. Now it's too easy. So
okay. So it sounds like you were kind of ready, and it was just like that little. You just needed that little push, and it just went. Everything that you'd been preparing for kind of came out. But you started a record label. So you were saying to me before we started recording that, you realised that you could finish music fast and that you were making music on gut instinct now, and it was all just coming out and you weren't overanalyzing. And then you realised you could apply these things in other areas. So if you could just explain what happened, what you've done with that'd be great too.
So pretty much in kind of your aha moment with music, because that's what I really relate to. I try to do all the self-help stuff and the motivational stuff, and Zig Ziglar's the one I really love. Yeah. He does the analogy where it's like, it's not an alarm clock, it's a go clock. It's like, it's not a stoplight, it's a go light. It's not an alarm clock, it's an opportunity clock. So I took that and applied that to, well, it's not that I can't do a label, it's I can do an amazing label. So then when I started, it's just like, boom, right away, I called someone that I knew. I didn't want to go to my usual graphic stuff. I wanted something fast that I knew would be good. So I got the name, came up with it. And literally by the time I had contacted 4 or 5 industry people that I know have the best contact with Beatport, they came right back to me and said, this is the one for you, go to them. And within one email, we had signed the paperwork and I was signed up. Didn't even have a track out yet.
And that's Swarm Records. I can see the big sign in the background. It might be backwards. I'm not sure. It might be backwards in the. I'm not. Yeah, I don't know. It might be a weird Skype thing where it's backwards. But it says if it is backwards when it comes out, when the recording comes out, it says Swarm Records.
I printed it backwards.
Oh, you did print it backwards, so it is backwards.
Well, because when I look at it, it looks right. And my little screen here, it looks right.
Well,
So
well,
if it
it
comes
may
out,
well be. Who knows? We'll see how the recording comes out. So it's not Morale's Records; it's Swarm Records.
this one.
Yeah. So okay. So you did that. And you started putting. So did you start? Because you were talking about also SoundCloud plays and stuff. So if you could just give us an idea
Yeah.
of what happened.
So after the first month, because I was so busy, I wasn't even looking. And then a friend had called me and said, "Man, this track's really popular." And I'm like, "What do you mean it's popular?" It's like, "Well, you've got like, tens and thousands of plays." And I'm like, "No, I don't." And I went and looked at it, and one was that like at the time it was like 55,000, and another one was at 30,000. I'm like, that's a lot of plays, and I know it has a lot to do with the distributor because it's the distributor has 900 labels within it,
Oh, I see.
so it's all cross referenced and stuff like it's cross promoted, and we share emails and stuff like that. So it's really kind of a cool program. Stuff I never found stuff like that when I worked with in the U.S. when I've had major label stuff. There was a lot of like you couldn't do that, it was frowned upon. But here it's like if you're a label, I'm a label. Let's work together. And if you like my stuff, let's promote it. And it's really been working.
Oh,
but now it's like the channel itself. It only has the first 6 tracks up, and it's at it's close to 500,000.
wow.
That's where it's at. So not too shabby.
Yeah.
And then of course the gigs are coming along right with it.
Oh, and so you're getting gig offers as well as a result of all this.
Yeah, it's no music, no gigs.
Yeah, well, that is exactly it. That's the foolproof formula.
Yeah.
No music equals no gigs.
Yeah, so really it's about, when I say the machine, I really put it into 4 platforms. First you make the music, and you master the music, distribute the music. But what I'm doing also now is what I kind of took another break from the music, not completely, but as now I have the metadata functionality. So immediately, as soon as before the track is even released, it's already sent to the music licensors.
Oh, okay.
So they already know, and I've got a handful, probably about half a dozen that I've used in the past over the last 20 years. But I've got a couple that really specialize in electronic dance that they're already telling me, you're going to ringtone this one, we're going to do this one for this, and it's been massive.
Awesome. So if I'd have told you. Yeah. If I'd have said on that video, this is what and I'd have just read back to you what you've just told me. I said, this is what's going to happen when you take me off on this 2-week offer. What would you have said to me?
I would have said you're full of it.
You would have said I was a total liar, a scammer.
Yeah, it's too good to be true. But really, that's how I've felt this whole time. Literally, I was like, it's too easy. It doesn't feel right. Everything I did in the past, especially working with major labels, is so. It was such a process. It couldn't be perfection unless you put in the work and dug and did it. And I didn't. I'm not saying it didn't feel like I didn't put in the work, but it didn't feel like I put in the effort. I mean, and it was like a guy was a Jedi or something going through it. Everything was just kind of working, and I'm like, this is kind of creepy. But when you're dedicated, you got to remember my past desk looked like a library book and just taken and dumped all the library books on top, and I've got 5 cell phones on the iPad, 3 people actually messaging me. It's at night, and I'm drinking a 6-pack at the end of the day. So like, how are you going to get anything done? And I think one of the gals said it best. I don't remember her name. She's really kind of cool too. I've been watching some of her tech house stuff. She does a 3 vinyl mix show. It's really cool. But she had said, that your course that really kind of grabbed me. She said, your course isn't a course about music at all. It's about getting your shit together. Is what the course is about.
Yeah, Cassandra. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That's right. Yeah. It's
a long day.
Yeah, I mean, it's the point of it is to finish music. But what I discovered or noticed was that the biggest difficulties I had in getting music finished weren't about actually the nuts and bolts of finishing music. That's kind of like you can work that stuff out. You know what I mean? It's that is something that you learn by doing. Basically, as long as you're doing it, you learn how to do it. The difficulty came in actually getting it over the line, getting stuff out, doing it in the context of a really busy life, and all of the stuff. I mean, if you think about it, it's not like you walk into the studio and you become all of a sudden a different person without a life. It's like your life is your music. Do you know what I mean? That's that, and the way that you run your life will affect your music. So that's why I kind of take that approach rather than kind of just focusing on the nuts and bolts of music production and all of that kind of thing, because I kind of figured that most people can figure that stuff out for themselves. Well, I mean, I certainly did anyway. So I would regard myself as a technical no-hoper. So, oh dear. So you say you got some good. So you were telling me you got various gig offers. So what's coming up next for you? But what's your artist name, by the way, just so that people can?
It's my last name, Camacho.
Camacho. So it's
Camacho. So.
Camacho. And where can people hear your music?
At Beatport, at beatport.com/Swarm Records, SoundCloud.com/Swarm Records, pretty much anything with Swarm Records in it. TrackSource, all the big ones, iTunes. My distributor has and I don't think my last one that I had was as international, but literally they have 140. It's kind of big, 140 online stores in 240 countries in 11 different languages.
Wow.
So some of the feedback, I'm like, I don't even know. I take it and I get the email. I had to put it in the Google translator and then come back and I'm like, oh, okay, you get it here.
He likes it.
Feedback.
Excellent. Well, that's awesome. I'm so happy to. So what's next? What's coming up? What are your plans for?
Well, it was never a matter of I can't write an album on my own. I'm gonna make the best album on my own. So that's the next thing. That's why there's gonna be a little bit of a lull here, maybe an EP or two. But now that I have a big cooking pot full of tracks I can just pull out now that are all done, then I can move on to that. So that's what I'm looking forward to.
Excellent.
Actually doing it out.
And can I just ask, because we were just talking
Sure.
about your life in general. Obviously for 19 years you hadn't finished anything of your own as your solo artist. And what kind of impact on your sort of broader life has this sudden explosion had? Just out of interest.
I think because music is so important to me, it's everything else that I can't do is turned into I can do, and then I'm gonna do. And I've always kind of been like that way subconsciously, but when you go at it with the focus and purely focus at it, and you have that direct experience in the time that you're doing it, you learn from it a lot better. Yeah. And that's where I've really gone with it. It's just that, and I can't thank you enough because it really was just that little. It was there, but it's just you came and just clicked that little cog and paradigm. And it's just like I just feel like it's literally. I was May the 4th. I was watching the Star Wars stuff the other day, and I literally feel like Luke Skywalker just to go through some of this stuff.
Yeah. So I mean, I do find myself when I'm talking on the forum and stuff, I find myself writing phrases, and I'm like, does that sound too much like Yoda? Oh, that's good.
I hate to say it, Mike, but you're Yoda. The green ears.
Yeah, well, I'm nearly as old as Yoda. Anyway, well, thank you so much for talking to me, Josh. I really appreciate the time you've taken and also putting up with my complete uselessness with getting this sorted. Congratulations on the progress, and I can't wait to see what happens with Swarm Records.
Well, I do have a extensive after I get done with the release stuff and the album. I mean, I'm gonna try and get back into more with helping out some other people too, because I almost feel like there's a necessity as well to give back. So, if there's anybody that needs help or is stuck in the same direction, you can always send them my email too, and I'll tell them we can tag team them because it's so valuable information.
Cool, awesome.
I can't thank you.
Well, no, thank you. Good luck with everything.
Great.
Cheers.
Talk soon. Cheers.